given where we're at right now in the arc, I would assume, similar to like, a lot of other series, when you're in between that point of like two arcs and you're just kind of like in the transitionary phase, you're gonna get mostly like exposition, setup, a lot of character dialogue. It's a little bit more serious, like it's not the same as like when we had like the baseball chapter and stuff, but right now we're doing stuff with Tengen, which I didn't think was gonna, I don't really ever think about that dude just because he's never been a character that has been more than referenced and something we know has been important, but, now we're finally starting to, poke our heads over into what that guy's doing. His design is weird. Like, I look at him and I just see pink and I think of Patrick Star. I mean, it's really weird. He looks like I don't know if anyone's seen it's like the Hubba Bubble Gum, but it's like sticks. He just looks very strange. I think primarily it's like he's got the design of, he just got like a weird head face design, but like that's mostly it. And he's like wearing like a robe. There's not a lot to his general look other than his weirdly shaped head. But there was like a lot of general information I thought was pretty interesting in the chapter. The one thing that happened where, we have Yuji talk to Megumi about Kugisaki, and he didn't want to answer. It seemed like, it seems like maybe there's, maybe it seemed like she might be gone. I have seen some people talk about, like, what if she's actually alive, but she wants to surprise Yuji, kind of like when Yuji surprised them for the fact that he was alive. But, that's going to be something that otherwise we're going to depend a little bit to wait. Maki's looking unfortunate, too. Like, her burns, I don't have a problem with. Like, she's got some battle scars. She's still got her glasses. I'm not a fan of her short hair, though. It makes me just think of Toji every time I see it. Which, I mean, Toji's cool and all, but I don't know if it's a good look for her. Maybe she'll grow it back out. I mean, she did get blasted by a volcano dude, and she's got the scars and stuff now. So, we'll see. I mean, she can definitely, I think, pull the scars off. But again, I'm not feeling the short hair. Does anyone disagree with me? Maybe some people like the short hair. I'm not too sure. Maybe it'll look cooler when she's out like fighting and doing stuff. But she just looks like she's roughed up. Kind of hoping maybe she just takes some time to rest. I don't know how long it's stated to have been. Does anyone know? Actually, that's actually probably the best question I can ask some people in the comments. Like, does anyone know how long the point of end of Shibuya to now was? Because I don't know if it was stated, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I can't, like, certain things I'm always gonna like forget, but at the same time, I'm glad that's what I've got people in the comments to ask for. But with stuff kind of going on right now, they're gonna be setting up for this Colon game. We've got some important, like, general points of interest that are coming up. Like, they want to find out how to remove the seal in Prison Realm and figure out what Commodore Toshi's whole goals and his plans are. But it's all about removing Prison Realm. That's obviously the big important thing, because getting Satoru out is very beneficial to both them, because then they can get back to where they're not dealing with the corrupt aspects of Jujutsu techs, like higher ups. Because that's one thing that they bring up is Yuki is trying to keep like kind of a low profile, because she's trying to avoid all the people at the top too. And we know that they're a very shady bunch. I mean, literally right now the current situation is a good example of that. Like, they made up all this fake stuff about Satoru because they don't like him and they want to just kind of keep him out of the picture, which I think is also really stupid on their part. I mean, granted, I understand why they're doing it, but at the same time, it's like, Satoru is annoying, I would imagine, to work with. Like, if you were one of the people that were in the higher-ups of, the Jujutsu Tech people and, like, any of these big families, you would hate him. Like, if you were in any form of, like, authority position, you would probably hate him because he doesn't listen to anybody. He can just do whatever he wants. He's, the strongest, and on top of that, he's from, he's pretty much that. He is actually the head of the Gojo clan. I remember that being confirmed in one of the... I think that's just confirmed in one of the volume notes. I don't remember it being stated in the manga, but I'm fairly certain it's brought up as like one of just the general pieces that were given between, in the volumes. But I mean, like, he's still beneficial to humanity. That's like the hardship of it. It'd be like, it's like if you think of like, if you were in DC, like if you take out like pretty much all the other really big heroes and you just have Superman, like you got a lot of good ground level people, but you still have Superman, And it's like, oh, you know, the people that, like, someone like Lex Luthor, who's like, oh, I don't like him because of, like, he doesn't like how powerful he is and what he could be, and, you know, this essentially godlike person protecting humanity instead of, you know, humanity doing it, you know, being jealous of his strength and stuff. It'd be like the same thing of, like, yeah, I mean, I can sort of see where you're coming from, but at the same time, we know Satoru just being around keeps a lot of bad people at bay because they know they can't do anything to him, they can't fight him, or they'll just, you know, they'll get beaten. So I'm just like, you guys are awful, like, and outright, if like they're willing to keep this dude locked up just because they don't particularly like him, at the expense of, you know, all these crazy curses and stuff going. Because you take Satoru back into things, like, I see there's potential that Kama Noritoshi, you know, could contend with Satoru just because his is more of like a more of a strategic and set word of abilities with how he's just using like his full arsenal. He's got like all these different curses that he can use, and on top of that, he's clearly like a character whose whole big value revolves around his intelligence and, you know, how he can kind of set up and scheme. You know, Satoru's is more of like how he's just outright very powerful. He's still smart and he knows what he's doing, but at the same time, like, he's clearly not the same kind of like fighter as someone like Kamo is. Like, Kamo is definitely be one of those guys who comes in with 30 things planned. He's probably not going to get in a lot of fights with important people unless he's got some big things planned. But regardless of which, like, these guys really need to get their shit together if they want to actually keep humanity up and running. Like, if your whole goal is to fight these curses and, you know, all these bad people in the world of shamanism and stuff, then you should probably let that dude out, or at least have, like, I would at least assume that they know how to undo Prison Realm, and they would be willing to do it if it came down to, like, oh, we have to, and, you know, if we don't let him out, we're gonna have, you know, pretty much die. I would assume that'd be the case, because once they get Prison Realm back from Kamo, like, they have to be smart about, like, what they're gonna do with it. Like, granted, like, the main cast are gonna do, like, want to let him out immediately, but, like, say they get it and then it gets taken somehow by the higher ups, those guys would have to be like, okay, we figured out how to undo it. We're going to do it if we have to, but otherwise we don't want him around. That would be, like, in my idea, the smartest thing they could do, because, you know, if they're willing to go to the extent of, you know, make up all this fake stuff about him and try and, like, set up him and everyone adjacent to him as, like, criminals to get that out of the way, they clearly are going to heavy extents to not have him around. But at the same time, like, they got to be smart about this. But we'll see. I was happy that when they were going down to where Tengen was, there was a little bit of a commentary piece about 11 years ago. Remember when Toji attacked, obviously, in the flashback arc. Probably one of my favorite part of the series. I like, to be perfectly honest. Like, I like the stuff with Shibuya. Like, Shibuya's a really good arc, but I love the flashback. Flashback was probably my favorite part of Jujutsu Kaisen story-wise. Just because, like, it hit like everything that I would have wanted. Because on top of that, like, it had stuff with, like, Megumi in his past. And I've said before, Megumi is my favorite in the series at the moment. But, like, when they go down to talk to Tengen, I'm very curious as to where that's going to go in general, of just how this interaction will kind of play out, because they managed to get to where he's at. They go in, they're essentially in this big, like, open white room. There's, you know, no backgrounds. It's just this big Bleach-style set of blank. And he's just there, hanging out in a robe, and, you know, he's got his big Hubba Bubba gum head. So, it's weird because I didn't have a lot to say about, like, the total contents of the chapter. It was mostly just a couple like specific pieces, and then really looking at the current situation that they're in, because the Colon game is coming up, and, you know, we got some neat stuff of, like, you know, we had Yuji calling Choso his brother or whatnot. I'm still, like, wondering if they find out about who Choso is, the other guys. I would hope so bad that they say, like, hey, we should probably not trust this guy, just because, like, he was killing humans, like, all over the place, and he was one of the people directly in cause of why Satoru was, like, sealed. A little bit suspicious, but anyway. Other than that, though, comment below. Tell me your thoughts about this chapter, and where you think things are kind of going right now. Like, I'm trying to, like, remember certain smaller characters and who I would love to see in the Calling game. I mean, luckily Megumi's around, so that's the only one I particularly. But anyway, other than that, comment below, thumbs to the video from the like button, subscribe one. Thanks everyone for the subscribe. Thank you for listening.